like to start with you, Jeroen, because you're the one who initiated to bring these people together. Can you let us know why you did that?
Certainly, there are two ways we are connected. The first one is related to COP28. We are all three companies, we are co-leaders for the calls of actions together with the International Telecommunication Union on the COP28. So we pronounce three calls of actions for the global ICT sector, including, of course, telcos. And the second way we know each other, we are all related because we are part of the same supply chain. In our optical fiber networks and data centers, we use Nokia equipment in our case, and we are a supplier for Telefonica. They use our networks for their telecom services. So in that way, we're related together. And yeah, we have to work, of course, all on sustainability in this case.
And maybe the question to Subho, it's about collaboration, and it also feels like, is there no competition? So why is collaboration so important? What do you get out of it?
Thank you. You know, the reason I joined the profession of sustainability is I feel this is one of those professions where, like the field of research and innovation, people actually go beyond competitors, vendors, supply chain, and the entire value chain to collaborate. Simply because I think our North Star is clear. We are all driving for responsible business. We are driving for better planet, and we are driving for better lives of the people that we touch. So in our industry, in the telecommunication industry, there's a lot of talk about the impact of ICT on greenhouse gas emissions. Depending upon which part of the value chain you are in, roughly between 70 to 95% of greenhouse gas emissions of different players comes from scope 3, which is essentially the emissions from value chain, upstream or downstream, which basically means, like for Nokia, for example, 95% of our greenhouse gas emission comes from upstream and downstream. The remaining 5% are all what we do across the world. Nokia has operations in 120 countries, but all of that for me is 5%, which basically means if I really have to drive change in my organization and cannot do that without Maya's and Jeroen's and our ecosystem's help, which is why the work across the value chain, both upstream and downstream, is extremely critical. I would also add that we represent large corporations here, but in this value chain, there are many small and medium enterprises, and it is equally important for large corporations to bring the small and medium enterprises in this journey, without which none of our targets would be met, and what we are set out for will not happen.
Maybe the question to Maya, if you look to Telefonica, you're worldwide an enormous operator. So what are the goals you set to reach your goals? Can you clarify on that?
Thank you for inviting us, first of all. We, as an operator, we have the commitment to become a net zero company in 2040. That means reducing at least 90% of our emissions in absolute terms and neutralizing the remaining emissions. So how we are doing that, and I mean, Subho has explained that very well. So in our case, 80% nowadays of our emissions come from the scope 3, so these value chain emissions, and we need collaboration. So this is why we work with our suppliers, with our vendors, and also with our peers, with our clients. So we need them because we have committed ourselves to reduce emissions, but we need this collaboration. So as an example, if we talk about FTTH, so we are removing all the copper from our different countries. So the networks, all the fixed networks in Spain already is based in optical fiber. And without all the vendors working with us, we will not be able to do that. And it's not only good for our clients, but it's also good for the planet and for the energy. So optical fiber is 80% more efficient than copper. So that means reducing emissions, reducing energy consumption, and giving the best service to our clients. So we need collaboration. That's a specific example. But talking about our vendors, Nokia, for example, we need them to help us to reduce our own carbon emissions, and we need them to work together because we need to innovate. We need to eco-design. We need more circularity in terms of the use of the equipment. We need to them to provide us with the more efficient equipment for the network. So I think collaborating to reach this net zero commitment is critical, and I think we're doing quite well. No, we are collaborating very much.
And can you explain how this cooperation is taking place? Because now we have the initiative from Eurofiber to bring you together. Are there already, societies, ways to work together in a more formal way? And where are you being worked on? Maybe, Jeroen, you can explain a bit more about that.
Yeah, certainly. Like I mentioned, if you look at our network, of course, we have the energy consumption of Nokia equipment, for example, but you also have to work together. And what is the environmental impact of the equipment we buy from Nokia in this case? So they're working on life cycle assessments to calculate the carbon footprint of their products, and we can use that as an operator to calculate our Scope 3 emissions, for example. So that is something we're also working on. And of course, like Maya mentioned, circularity is also a very important thing. So we're looking at the options based on the life cycle assessments. How can we make the products more circular? Looking at more recycled input material in the equipment, but also remanufacturing, reuse of the equipment, of course, after some years in our network. So that's the things we have to work together, and we cooperate together. And that's also making standards at European or global level in this case, what's necessary.
And that's the ICT world is a global world. There is steering coming from Europe. But if you see to look at frameworks, look at LCAs and making sure we can compare on an equal level, maybe Subho, what should be the next step? What is needed to make sure we can honestly compare sustainable impact across products? What is needed to make that happen?
I think it's a good question because as we say in the world of sustainability, one of the biggest challenges that we have is data. It's counterintuitive because you would believe there are many other challenges that we need to work on, but data is a big challenge because it's not yet standardized. What is also not standardized is the way that energy efficiency features across fixed, optical, IP, different types of networks work. I think there are, to your question about what are the formal setups of this cooperation, first is, as Jeroen mentioned, in terms of products. So, just to give you a simple example, Maya talked about removing copper from fixed networks. If you look at mobile networks, right now 4 of us are sitting here, we're not using the phone, but the phone is consuming energy from the base station. How can we all work together with the use of new technologies like AI to switch off the signal that's consuming power, that's supplying signals to our phones now, because we don't need to use the phones. So such technologies are evolving. Industries are coming together to find a better solution. So that's one formal collaboration. In terms of the supply chain, there are various collaboration already existing within Europe as well as outside. For example, the JAC, RBA, this sort of alliances exist for our suppliers, our customers, as well as our upstream and downstream suppliers. And to standardization of future technologies, there are various organizations from 3GPP to ITU to JESI that all of us are part of, and we are making sure as new technologies and new practices are built, they're built with a common methodology so that we don't have to retrofit sustainability going forward.
And can you already indicate what do you think will become the new standards? And maybe a question to Maya, because you're on both sides of the ocean, so to speak. You're both in Europe and you're on the other side of the ocean in Latin America. So can you already see standards that are coming around which are worldwide and that really drive this change?
Well, I think standardization is critical, no? So we have talking about LCAs, so we have to set the boundaries. What is the boundary, no, of an LCA? Because then we are not comparing maybe things. So I think the ITU is doing a good job in terms of the standardization, and that is global. In terms of reporting, we have also a lot of regulation coming in the European Union. So I think it's also, I think because it's ahead in some way to other parts of the world in terms of regulation. So we are in Latin America and we are in Europe, and I tell you, Latin America comes afterwards, but it takes a lot of what's European Union regulating. So in terms of, for instance, of circularity and that kind of things, I think there are GSMA, ITU standardized very well, but also regulation. It really established what's going to happen. In terms of the reporting, so for instance, Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3, I think the JG protocol. No, it's really what we are all using. So I think, and the net zero, all the net zero commitments, I think we have all this agreed that Scope 3 has to be inside. So it's not only about our own emissions, but also Scope 3 has to be there. So I think there's it's starting to be like a common language here. So I think we need to go ahead on that. So standardization, I think it's critical.
And who is driving this standardization at the moment? You mentioned ITU. I think you've all met at COP28. So where is this actually happening at the moment? Soon.
I can start and then add on. The short answer is there is no one place where this is happening, which is I think an opportunity for the industry. There are three areas in my view where some of this work are coming together. One is, yes, UN-driven COP28 and similar platforms, which are primarily for countries to accelerate policies. The countries where we operate in Latin America, Nokia operates in 120 countries, so we have challenges in various countries. So UN has a big role and the various entities of UN. The second is telecom-related standardization bodies like 3GPP and ITU, which primarily looks at standards in various parts of the handset, mobile, fixed, and IP and optical. It's critical that these standards merge. From my point of view, of course, this is an era of intense geopolitical tension. We should not get technology standards get diverted with geopolitical tensions. It's bad for the industry from our point of view, and we should look at how we can converge technology standards.
Can you give an example what the risk is that you see?
Well, we had seen this, for example, in the previous era of 3G, where China, US, Europe, and Japan had collectively close to 7 or 8 different standards, unlike 5G, which is a common standard today. And that costed the industry a lot of money. It costed a lot of delay to accelerate the progress of mobile telephony. So we must avoid that also in the field of sustainability. The last part where I think this is coming together is regulation and reporting, where I think Europe has taken a very strong forward step, with the upcoming CSRD and EU taxonomy and various other regulations. Nokia, for example, is listed both in Europe as well as the US. We see US also taking very progressive steps in this. One of the things to watch out for in this case is for companies like us who have businesses in many geographies, the reporting need of multiple geographies can be very difficult and taxing if they are divergent. So from our point of view, we would like to see convergence of reporting needs. One global standards of financial reporting related to sustainability would be a dream. But yeah.
All right, thank you. We're also looking at the impact of everything that is being produced. So if we look even on a higher level, the main impact is in all the new things we are basically buying. So maybe Jeroen, from a really abstract perspective, how do we make sure, how could this world change where we not release new features, new technologies, new standards, which basically all need new hardware, and basically at the end, the risk of producing more e-waste. So this is, we've now talked about standards, but that's probably the way we should go to. What should be the steps to reach that goal?
Yeah, it's the same like other things, of course. It's collaboration. Because if we buy equipment, for example, of Nokia, at first we have to talk with them and make agreements. All right, what if you can reuse the equipment, for example, after 5 years? That means that they, in the R&D processes, they have already to think about the opportunities. How can we upgrade after 5 years, for example, the equipment so that it can be reused by Eurofiber in this case? So that's the reason you have to work together. Not only buy it, but just work together completely also in the R&D phase in this case. And that's what we are doing with Nokia, for example. And we have agreements on that to work together on the possibilities to make the remanufacturing easier in that case by redesigning climate-proof in this case. So
and does it already mean that if you now have the net zero goals, that they have an impact on, for example, new business models? Or because if you enlarge the lifetime of your products, there's of course something happening with your business models. So I know this from a sustainability perspective is always a challenging part.
Well, I think when you have a target like this one, it means that you have to transform the whole company. So it's, in our case, we have a climate action plan that was approved by the board, and we in this climate action plan is not sustainability department who is in charge of taking this action. It's really the whole company. So we have different pillars. One is like we are going to procure differently. So it's our purchasing is not going to be the way that it has been done in the past. No, we are including circularity criteria, sustainability criteria, energy criteria when buying any equipment. Also, we are financing ourselves differently. So also sustainable financing is increasing in all the companies. I think nowadays 30% of our financing is linked to ESG performance, which I think is great. No, because it's really transformation from really strategic for the company. Also, the way we operate the company, no, I mentioned before. So how we operate, how we deploy the networks, and how we are using more renewables, energy efficiency, that is critical, and that's also part of the climate action plan, and also the delivering to our clients. So really, all the products and services that any company provides to their clients has to embed the sustainability. No, in our case, we know that the digital sector will help. No, cities, transportation, industry, energy sector to decarbonize itself. So we have to deploy, to innovate, to create products and services that can enable climate emissions for our clients. So I think. Again, so I think it's not only about having targets, but having action, and having action from the strategic part of the company.
And maybe to give some directions to Jeroen, this also needs to be financed. So there is always a balance between having the sustainable initiatives and also making them financiable, realistic. How is Eurofiber making sure that the sustainable plans are also being actions and being funded?
Yeah, I think it's getting more and more important to have the C-level on board in this case. Like Maya mentioned, you have your climate action programs submitted to the board, and of course they have to agree with that. But if I look at Eurofiber, for example, we have done refinancing last year, and we have 3 KPIs we have to report on related to ESG. And that makes it very important. Yeah. So our stakeholders and shareholders, but also the board, is very curious. Jeroen, are you going to fix the KPIs? Because that saves us a lot of money.
There's a direct financial connection between the sustainable KPIs and your basically the rent, what you're paying, the loans.
Yeah, our KPIs, if we have them, that means that we have a lower interest rate, and that's in the financial thing. And then you can use the financial benefit of that for more sustainable actions in this case. So that's also very important, of course.
Okay. Yes, please.
So I was just wanted to share something, because we talk about regulation, no? And we have important regulation in Europe, which is the taxonomy on sustainable activities, that gives transparency, no, to the financial sector, to what is green, what is not green, and what is impacting, no, in terms of the climate crisis and promoting circularity and so on. So in this taxonomy regulation, no, there are a lot of activities, but for instance, the FTTH, so networks, telecommunication network, is not identified so far. So we are trying this taxonomy to really look at the whole economy, and because we have a great investments, that are going not only in Europe but the whole world, that the digital sector is going to be critical for the development of any economy, and to increase also environmental more sustainable economies. I think it's critical that we succeed with this, because I think this regulation is also part of the standardization that you mentioned before, and it's going to help that this financing is going to be better for the networks.
Okay. So if we look forward, and we have to a little bit round up the discussion. So you mentioned the taxonomy, that we all speak the same language. We have LCAs that we calculate the same measures. That's the way forward. If you would add one thing that makes a difference to push sustainability within a world of connectivity, what should it be from a Nokia, from your perspective?
I would say capital allocation. We need the industry to come together for pumping in more money to real sustainable action. From within our corporation, we have identified how can we consciously move capital in our R&D budget towards sustainability-related initiatives in products, in packaging, etc. But we need this in the financing framework. We need the banking industry. We need the financial industry to give credits for sustainable work. It's a better business, so we must have better credits for that. And then we need new funding for startup ecosystems. There are excellent startups in Netherlands and everywhere where very progressive innovations are coming. We need real startups to be funded better through sustainable financing. So I would say capital allocation.
That will make a difference. Jeroen, have you one thing to add to push the sustainable change forward?
Yeah, I think it's already mentioned, of course, the collaboration and step over the line that you're a competitor, for example, but work together, because that is the one thing that helps at the end our environment of the global.
And Maya, do you have something to add to this?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that have been mentioned already. So I think, collaboration is critical. So again, and also I think collaboration with our clients, no, because indeed they move the way we act. So I think we really need to engage with our B2B and B2C clients. So all this will be more green in the future.
Thank you. And a last thing, there are so many visitors at the Mobile World Conference. What would be the call to action for them from a sustainability perspective? If you would just shout out to everybody here, what should be the one message?
Well, for me, the message is to think from the beginning. So the design has to be green. So it has to be sustainable from the beginning. And think about we need, for instance, a mobile phone to last more. We need that. So we have the example of Fairphone here. But I think we need from the beginning, and I think that is critical.
Okay. Jeroen, do you have a final shout out to the crowd at Mobile World?
Okay. Yes. Now, I think look further than your own company and help your supply chain and think more circular. Yeah, like mentioned the Fairphone, for example. If you look at modular design of your products, but also your networks in our case, then you can be a step forward in sustainability and circularity for the future. So.
Okay. And maybe the last word to you, Subho.
There is a saying at Nokia, we say there is no green without digital. I'll repeat that, and I'll say that it's an opportunity for the industry to accelerate and leapfrog together.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Then I'd like to have a warm applause for Subho, Jeroen and Maya.